안녕. Okay. Look, here's the deal. I want to talk about the K-drama Love Alarm from, 2021, I think? Because it had so much potential. I think they had such a interesting idea, and then it just went nowhere. Instead, they focused on some petty little, love triangle with teenagers. Not even a good love triangle. So I was thinking it would have been great as a dark, dystopian-esque, sci-fi, futuristic-ish, sci-fi thriller, something in the vein of that. Anyway, and I want to talk about how I think they should have made this, because I think the story could have been so good if they did that. Let's turn this into a dark sci-fi. So, Love Alarm is a K-drama. I believe it's an adaptation of a webtoon that I've never read and don't really plan on reading, but and it came out in 2021, I believe. There's 2 seasons, which I can't believe it got 2 seasons, but really, if you think about it, it's kind of just 1 season, because there's 16 episodes altogether, and typical K-drama seasons anyway are 16 episodes, so I think the only reason they split it up was because Netflix loves to do that. So the drama takes place in a world where the mobile app Love Alarm notifies users if there is someone within a 10-meter radius of you that loves you. The story follows Kim Jojo, who is a hardworking high school student dealing with her own personal struggles. Despite her tough circumstances, she ends up getting caught in a love triangle between Suno, who is the most popular guy in school and a wealthy model, and his best friend, Haeyoung, who is very kind-hearted and sweet, and also happens to have had a crush on JoJo since, I don't know, for a long time. So the reason I even wanted to watch this show in the first place was because I thought the idea of the app was really interesting, and I don't know, I thought it was going to be a bigger part of the story. I mean, yes, the story is centered around this app, but not in the way I thought it was going to be. So I immediately had a whole bunch of questions when it came to this app, how does it detect that you're in love with someone? How long do you have to be in love with someone for it to detect that you're in love with somebody? Does the app cross genders or age? Is it only romantic love, or is it platonic love? How does it know that you love someone and it's not just lustful? I had so many questions, and some of them were answered. Not all of them, but some of them. So let's talk about this app a little bit. We do know that the app seems to only work with romantic forms of love and not platonic. And this app definitely crosses gender and age. So early on in the show, we get examples of how this app works. Now, granted, this is about teenagers, so we really only see it in a teenager space at first. And at school, right, this is the first example that really got me more excited to see what else this app will, what other mayhem this app will cause, because we see this school bully and his school bully gang. They end up bullying their friend and fellow bully when the leader finds out that the reason his Love Alarm app has been ringing is because his friend has a crush on him. Ends up bullying him for being gay, and one of the main characters, Haeyoung, steps in and is that's not cool. And then the school bully kind of avoids Haeyoung ever since, and of course we as the audience, and I believe Haeyoung, assume that he's being avoided because he stepped into the situation, so it's kind of they got a little bit of beef now. When in actuality, he ends up sort of cornering this bully in the bathroom. Not really. Well, yeah, I guess so. He corners him in the bathroom because he's like literally running away from him. And because it's only the two of them in there within the 10-meter radius, his love alarm starts ringing. Haeyoung's love alarm starts ringing. And the bully is the one triggering it. The bully has a crush on Haeyoung. So the bully is also gay and bullied his friend for having a crush on him. Very classic storyline. You know, the guy that is bullying the gay character is also gay himself. And Haeyoung just is like he doesn't care. Haeyoung is just like, whatever, man. But you better go apologize to your friend because that's messed up what you did to him when you're basically in the same boat as him. And that's kind of like the end of that. I thought we were going to see more instances like that. The only other similar-ish instance we see, but this one makes much less sense to me, is there's this sort of loner kid, like a little bit nerdy. He doesn't really have many friends, and he has a crush on the most popular girl in school. This is not that strange, considering this girl's love alarm is ringing constantly, because most of the school has a crush on her, right? But she only seems to have a crush on the most popular guy in school, which is Sunil. Anyway, and so the loner kid, like, he rings her love alarm in front of the whole school, and everyone makes fun of him for it, for some reason. I say for some reason because I don't really get it, because most of the people that have a crush on her, she would never date. So I don't know why it's so outrageous that he also has a crush on her and why he's getting bullied for it. So I thought these like bits of social commentary were going to matter more and start to turn the show from its lighthearted tone into a darker tone. Like, I thought we were gonna shift, you know, from that like bubblegum high school romance vibe into a more serious, more mature type vibe, and it didn't do that. But episode 6 is when I thought that turning point was going to happen. So in episode 6, it's all over the news in the show where there has been a mass ending in the park, and it was done by a bunch of people who had the love alarm app and their love alarms just never rang. And so they felt unloved, unwanted within society, and they all decided to end things. And like, it's such a like dark scene. It's such a dark moment. Like, the idea that these people felt so unwanted and unloved that they would end their lives is just so sad in tone. And then we kind of just like jump back into high school politics. And I'm like, are we not going to talk about that? Because I do think it's interesting to see that this app can ruin lives. So let's talk a little bit about the creator of the Love Alarm app. So his name is Dokku, and he is this recluse genius programmer. And so he made this app because once upon a time, he was in a unrequited love situation with some girl, and I guess it was one-sided on him, right? And so he wanted to make the app so that it takes out the communication part, right? The verbal communication of having to confess your feelings for someone to know if they like you back. Probably avoids some embarrassment, but like, also, I'm like, not really, because if a bell is ringing every time someone's around you and you don't feel the same way for them, that's like really awkward. Anyway, after the app starts to like uncontrollably spread and become popular, he goes into hiding. Yeah, unintended consequences regarding the app become too overwhelming for him. He just like disappears. And during his little disappearing act, the Love Alarm app updates to Love Alarm 2.0, which he does not approve. And this update, I guess, is a little bit more extreme and not to his liking, because instead of fostering like genuine love and a connection, it's manipulating connections And the only reason the CEO gets brought up so much in season 2 is because JoJo seeks him out. Why does she seek him out, you may ask? Well, let's go back to the beginning of the show a little bit. So JoJo doesn't have the app on her phone. She's very much against it. She sees no point in it because at the beginning of the show, she actually has a boyfriend. So she's like, why would I need this app when I'm in a relationship? Which makes sense, like why would you need the app if you're in a happy, healthy relationship? But she doesn't want the app in the first place because she doesn't want an app to tell her what she's feeling or what others are feeling about her. She wants it to be a genuine growth and build, which makes sense because that could very well influence you to liking somebody if you know that they already like you. That's like in middle school and like stuff, when you find out like someone has a crush on you, you kind of just, you know, especially if they're cute already, like, and you find out that they like you kind of start to like them too, even if you didn't before. Because knowing that they liked you first feels safer to now like them back because there's that mutual, you know? Now, I can't exactly remember what happens, but she obviously doesn't stay with this guy throughout the entire show, so they end up breaking up. I don't remember if there's infidelity or, I don't know, just lost feelings. I really don't remember, but they end up breaking up, and that's kind of, I think, when she ends up getting into this love triangle, right? With our two male leads. And again, don't remember how this happens, but at some point she does get the Love Alarm app on her phone, but she eventually locks it. I don't know how she locks it, but she like locks it somehow, and she doesn't know how to unlock it because at a certain point she wants to unlock it. But anyway, so in season 2, yeah, she wants to take this lock off her app, and so to do that she just seeks out the creator of the app. Because, you know, she ends up having connections and whatever, so she ends up being able to find him. Now, all of that with Love Alarm that we just talked about reminds me a lot of the webtoon Operation True Love, because I think there's some similar concepts going on here. This sort of, a little bit of like this futuristic vibe, it's surrounding love and what that means in society. So I kind of want to talk about that so that we can kind of combine them a little bit. Operation True Love is basically about this girl named Sua who is dealing with her own tragic teenage love life, of course, and her life completely changes one day when she finds this like sentient jelly pop phone, and that phone starts to reveal a lot of secrets unknown to the majority, including the secret system of love points, which is basically a numeral way of knowing how much love a person will receive in their lifetime. And this number is important because it can reflect how well you might do within society, depending on how high that number is. Now, everybody has a certain love score overall, but that doesn't mean that the number that you have can't change. So the score can always fluctuate depending on, you know, circumstance in your life. Like, if you have a girlfriend and you guys break up and it was on bad terms, she might now hate you, so, you know, your love score is probably going to drop a little bit. So the number is not set in stone, but generally if you have like a huge amount of love points, then it's probably always going to be a huge amount, even if it fluctuates a little bit. So she finds this jelly pop phone, and this phone starts to like text her, and she thinks someone else is texting her. It's a whole thing, right? Eventually, she has a stalker, is the point. Okay, she has a stalker that obviously knows about these love points because it seems that that information is getting intentionally revealed to her through this phone. She tries to like get rid of the phone a couple of times because like, duh, it's creepy, but it keeps showing up. Like the phone will keep coming back. So she can't get rid of it. So this stalker is very blunt with her and is like, look, you are a threat to the love point system. This is when she finds out that she has 0 love points. which is like impossible. You know, this is like basically impossible. She is an anomaly within a otherwise perfect system. No system is perfect, let's be for real. But she is an anomaly within the system, and obviously whoever the stalker is not happy about it. We don't know if this stalker is someone who created the system or just uses the system for their own benefit. It doesn't matter, because this person is threatening her, like a real threat. And they're like, look, you have 0 love points, which is like basically impossible. You are an anomaly within the system, which means you are a threat to the system. And if you don't get your love points up by a certain amount of time, like within a certain window, I'm gonna end you. Okay, that's crazy, because again, this girl's like, I don't know, like 15 or something, and she's like, what? Like, first of all, I have 0 love points. I think that's something that I should be able to be sad about on my own and deal with, and now you're telling me you're gonna off me if I don't get my love points up? What? Now, that being said, Sua actually has a boyfriend at the beginning of this. And he sucks. He's like the worst. He acts like she's a burden rather than his girlfriend, and he's just like outwardly really mean to her for no reason. And he's like nice to everybody else around him, like other girls and stuff, so it's just like really odd, because I'm like, why is he even with her then? You know what I mean? Like, no one's... Anyway, so she does have a boyfriend, and spoilers, kinda, he cheats on her. And she finds this out, okay? She finds out that he's been cheating on her, but she doesn't confront him about it, which might be a good thing at first anyway, because that's when she finds out about this little threat. That's when her stalker threatens her and is like, look, you got a certain amount of time to get your love points up or I'm gonna end you. And because she has 0 love points and starting from scratch, like getting someone new to fall in love with you seems a lot more difficult than getting someone who was at once, you know, at one point her boyfriend probably loved her. Like, he doesn't now, obviously, because she has 0 love points, but he must have at some point, so maybe trying to get him to love her again will be easier. She's trying to avoid death, okay? So, for me, my pride would not allow me to go back to that man, but I understand why she's doing what she's doing. And she pulls out the works, okay? She does everything. Like, she tries to even sort of look like the girl that he cheated on her with. So, yeah. But this opens up the opportunity for the love triangle to come in. The love triangle, by the way, has nothing to do with her shitty boyfriend. It has to do with the most popular guys in school, actually. The 2 most popular, most attractive guys in school. Because of course it does. Side note, I actually really like this love triangle. I don't know how it's developed since I stopped reading, but I really did like the love triangle between them, because the 2 guys that she has, you know, options between are both really great guys in their own ways. They have similarities, but the guy that she's leaning towards isn't necessarily my favorite. I like the other guy. Random side note, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, these 2 most popular guys in school happen to like her. She doesn't really realize this at first. It takes her a while. So this is a good thing for her though, because now she doesn't have to try and get her ex to like her again. And obviously this is a journey, this is a story, and it's not as easy for her as she... Well, I don't think she thought it was going to be easy, but it's not that easy to up your love points, especially when they fluctuate so much. So also, as Sua goes on her journey, she believes that these points reflect true love, but which is not like a stupid assumption. Like, it makes sense that she would think that. However, she realizes that that's not necessarily the case. Now let's talk about who knows about this system. As I said before, the majority of the public and stuff do not know that this whole love point thing even exists. But those who do know, right, the small percentage of people that do know about this system obviously use it towards their own advantage. Now, a little bit more spoilers, so I'm gonna still try and keep it sort of brief, just in case you want to read this. There's an entertainment company called Meringue Entertainment, and they use this system, this love point system, to recruit talent, which makes sense and is very smart, because if someone has like a really high love point count, then that means that they're bound to receive a lot of love in their life, which makes them like the perfect people to be in the entertainment industry. Essentially, the talent would do good in the industry, which means the company will make more money. And that is basically their recruiting process. Now, one of the love triangle boys actually consistently gets approached by this company, and they want to recruit him because he has a super high love point score. He's actually my favorite character, but he's like, I'm not talented at all, and I desire to not be famous, if anything, so why do you keep trying to recruit me? And the reason is, one, because his love score count is super high, and he's super attractive to where people already make assumptions about him, assuming that he's famous, or that he's wealthy, or etc, etc. Like, he wants nothing to do with the entertainment industry. Now, as far as I remember, the story doesn't really talk about what the average amount of points that a person has generally, but I would think that it's anywhere between like 1,000 to like 10,000 points, which is still like a lot, but especially when you compare Suo, who has 0, they could have at least gave her like 10. And then I think like on the higher end of the love count would probably be anywhere between like 80,000 to like into the millions. But that being said, this system, despite Suo, is inherently super flawed. Because when you think about it, there are people who have a really low love score and then people who have an extremely high one. But that doesn't determine the quality of love that they're receiving, if that makes sense. So you could have a super low score but have genuine connections with people, or you could have a super high score and have like no genuine true love, no connections, like any of that. But the system doesn't account for it. So that's, you know, a big part of the reason why they want Suo gone, because she's literal living proof that the system is inherently flawed. Okay, all of that being said, with these two stories, I think if we like mush them together and add a little bit more futuristicness to it and add a little bit of darkness, we could have like a cool, like sort of dark romance sci-fi situation going on. In my head, it's playing out very like very like YA dystopian future, very much giving Hunger Games Divergent. So I think this is how the story would go. So just like in the original story of Love Alarm, JoJo would reject this whole like app situation. One, because she doesn't need it since she has a boyfriend in the beginning of the show, but also because she wants to find love organically, right? She doesn't want to be influenced by what the app is telling her. And I think the original creator of the app would have to have more headway in this story, where he like comes up with this app, it goes viral, but then, you know, he wants nothing to do with it anymore, like it's not the way he wanted it. But unbeknownst to him, a 2.0 version of the app gets released, which he had no involvement in, and it's very corrupt. Oh, also, like this 2.0 version of the app, like if it was almost mandatory to have, you know, like it's an app that has new features, it's already installed on new phones, it's an app that you can't uninstall. I like that. There's now a point system, like maybe the government or some kind of higher ups could be like it wouldn't just be like the alarm is ringing, it's like every time your alarm rings that would add up in a point system, and those points could almost be used as like currency. There could be like a black market for love points. You know what I mean? Sort of like how you can like buy followers and stuff on social medias. You could buy love points. They can be hacked, they can be stolen, you know, to like fluctuate your points and get certain privileges within society. I don't know if I'm doing a good job at articulating this. Anyway, and then like in Operation True Love, the idea of these points used as a way to gain other people money. So maybe something like that could be in play, where the government or some kind of higher ups sort of seek out people with high love counts so that they can ultimately be put in certain positions of power or whatever it is. Because I mean, like, think about it. Like, if you seek out somebody who has like high love points and then put them in politics, like, they're inherently probably going to be loved no matter what they do. That could be spooky. Something like that. And so I'm thinking like the original creator of the app could be, you know, this new update that he was unaware of, had no involvement in. He sees what it's starting to do to society and he's like, this is getting out of hand. And because he's like a genius programmer, he has to find a way to dismantle this new system, aka get rid of this app. And now because because all these, any new phone you get or whatever, the app is just like automatically installed. Sua doesn't want anything to do with the app still, right? She wants to have that organic love, so she seeks out a way to lock it or something. And so she finds him and is like, look, I don't want anything to do with this. I need, like, is there a way to lock this app or something? Like, thinking that he had involvement in the second iteration of the app. And so he takes that opportunity to test something out to see if he can, like, block the app in a way. So, you know, maybe he'll give her some sort of like illegal shield feature where the app won't work, so she won't receive any like alarm sounds and she can't give any alarm sounds, like that sort of thing. And because all this data, like every app, all the data is going straight to the government, she is like a threat to the new order, and more so that she found a way to block the system. Like, she obviously had to be a part of the system before she found a way to block the app. And then they noticed that she's not a part of the system anymore. So now they're trying to, like, find this girl, and she's now a threat, sort of like how Sua is a threat in Operation Love, True Love. So now she's, like, being hunted down by these people. And she has to go back to, like, the creator of the app, right? And is probably like, what the heck did you do to get me involved in this nonsense? Like, now she has to work with the creator of the app to try and dismantle this new system that is like slowly ruining society. Along the way, her little love triangle thing could still happen, I guess. Where by the end of it, she will reveal who she actually fell in love with. I don't really care about that. But, I don't know, something like that. I thought about it. I don't know, those were like the ideas I sort of came up with of how those two stories could kind of mush together to create like a more dark, futuristic tone. So yeah, like the new world order would be that this love alarm app is like mandatory. The points that add up on it can contribute to whether or not you can get a job or housing or like certain privileges within society, and you're almost looked at as lesser than if your love points are low, and it could just mess up a whole bunch of things. Yeah, I don't know, maybe you can see the vision I'm seeing of the potential. Basically what I'm trying to say is, regardless of whether or not this was a dark sci-fi romance situation, I think Love Alarm could have been better if it focused less on a teenage love triangle and more on the app itself and what it's actually doing to society, because that was like the most interesting part to me. Okay, so that's that. that is my retelling in a kind of darker, sci-fi-ish or futuristic-ish way. Um, yeah. My point is, Love Alarm had potential, and they fumbled the bag. So, I don't think I have anything else to say. So, it's just too little too late, a little too wrong, and I can't wait. But you know all the right things to say. You know it's just too little too late.